The day began like any other. Sunlight streamed through the windows, and a light breeze rustled the trees. People went about their routines, unaware of the impending disaster. But that calmness was short-lived. The skies suddenly darkened as a fleet of alien ships appeared, blotting out the sun. The enormous, shadowy figures hovered high above Earth's cities, their engines humming with ominous power. They came without warning, and within minutes, everything changed. The first wave of alien weapons was like nothing humanity had ever seen. As soon as the ships loomed over the cities, they unleashed devastating energy blasts. The air crackled with heat as buildings were torn apart in an instant. Entire skyscrapers crumbled into dust, sending massive clouds of smoke and debris into the air. Roads cracked and split open, and people screamed in panic as the ground shook beneath them. These invaders, the Zyrak, were merciless. They had come to Earth with one goal in mind: to conquer, to destroy, and to claim the planet for their own. The Zyrak had superior technology, machines and weapons far beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. There was no defense, no chance for survival. In the midst of this chaos, the world's military tried to fight back. Jets soared into the air, firing missiles and lasers, but their weapons had no effect. The alien ships absorbed the blasts like they were nothing. Tanks fired round after round, only for their shells to bounce off the invaders' shields. The Zyrak seemed unstoppable. No matter what humanity threw at them, the invaders just shrugged it off, as if Earth's military forces were nothing more than pests to be swatted away. People were running in every direction, trying to escape the destruction. There was no safe place. Major cities were wiped out in mere moments. It felt like the world was falling apart. Among the chaos, a small group of soldiers, led by Marcus, a seasoned officer with years of experience, took cover in an abandoned building. They had been preparing for the worst, but even they were not ready for the level of destruction the Zyrak brought. As they huddled together in the ruins, the sounds of explosions and collapsing buildings filled the air. Marcus tried to keep his team calm, but even he could feel the weight of the moment. This was no ordinary attack. This was the end of humanity as they knew it. As the team regrouped and surveyed the damage from the shattered windows, something strange began to happen. The ground beneath their feet trembled, gently at first, like a small earthquake. "It's just an aftershock," one of the soldiers said nervously. But Marcus wasn't so sure. The tremors grew stronger, shaking the building more violently, knocking over debris and causing dust to fall from the ceiling. Marcus quickly ordered his team to move to a safer location, but the tremors only intensified. It felt like the earth itself was coming alive, waking up from a deep slumber. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the tremors stopped. For a moment, everything was still. The distant sound of alien weapons firing continued, but the shaking had ceased. Marcus and his team exchanged worried glances, unsure of what to make of it. It wasn't long before they realized that the tremors weren't just random aftershocks. Something far more powerful had been awakened beneath the ground. As they made their way through the city, they saw more and more signs of strange seismic activity. Cracks appeared in the streets, and small fissures opened up in the earth, releasing steam and hot gases. But it wasn't just the earthquakes they were noticing, it was the heat. A strange, almost unbearable warmth was spreading, radiating from deep beneath the surface. It was as if the planet itself was starting to fight back. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He had seen the power of the Zyrak's weapons firsthand, and yet, this was different. Earth was waking up, and whatever lay beneath the surface was far more dangerous than anything they had encountered before. The invaders had no idea what they had just stirred up. The team continued to move, trying to make sense of what was happening. As they passed a massive crater created by one of the alien blasts, Marcus noticed something even stranger. The ground at the center of the crater was glowing faintly, as though something hot and powerful was building beneath it. The heat coming from the earth was unlike anything they had felt before, like a pressure that was slowly building, waiting to explode. "We need to find out what's happening," Marcus said, his voice filled with urgency. "This might be our only chance to fight back." As they ventured deeper into the city, the sounds of alien ships still echoed in the background, but there was a new feeling in the air. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was anticipation. Something was coming. And Marcus could feel it. Something much bigger than any weapon the Zyrak had. The tremors continued to spread across the planet, signaling that Earth was far from done with its invaders. It was just the beginning, the world was already in chaos. Alien ships continued to rain down destruction, and humanity's forces were struggling to hold their ground. Marcus and his team fought tooth and nail to survive as the alien invasion tore through cities, leaving nothing but ruins. But as if the situation couldn't get any worse, something else was happening. Earth's volcanoes were beginning to erupt. It started with one volcano in a remote region, but soon, the eruption spread. In a matter of days, scientists across the globe were scrambling to explain the surge in volcanic activity. The eruptions were massive, far larger than anything recorded in history. Clouds of ash choked the skies, and rivers of lava carved through landscapes, swallowing entire cities. The Zyrak, however, dismissed the phenomenon as just a random disaster. They assumed the eruptions were part of some natural event and paid little attention to it, focusing all their resources on crushing humanity. But Marcus knew something wasn't right. He had spent years studying Earth's geology, and he understood that these volcanoes hadn't erupted in centuries. They had been dormant for a long time, with no sign of activity. And now, suddenly, they were all erupting at once. It wasn't a coincidence. The planet was fighting back. As the team navigated through the war-torn cities, avoiding alien patrols and alien drones, Marcus's suspicions grew stronger. The ground beneath their feet trembled more violently with each passing day. The heat from the volcanoes was unbearable, and ash fell from the sky, covering everything in a thick, choking dust. The atmosphere was thick with smoke, and the air tasted of sulfur. Yet, amid the destruction, Marcus began to realize that Earth's volcanoes were no longer just a natural disaster, they were part of a weapon. They encountered more signs of this strange, unexplainable force as they moved through the cities. Buildings collapsed as lava erupted through cracks in the streets, but some areas of the city were even more dangerous. Ancient artifacts, long buried beneath the surface, began to surface, proving Marcus's theory. These were remnants of a time long before modern humanity, showing that ancient civilizations had once harnessed Earth's power for their own purposes. The team found symbols etched on the stones, markings that described how Earth's core could be used as a weapon. It wasn't just about eruptions, they had discovered a way to trigger a chain reaction, one that could engulf the entire Zyrak army in a fiery wave of molten destruction. But their mission was not going to be easy. Alien patrols were everywhere, and the team had to move quickly to avoid detection. They relied on guerrilla tactics, hiding in shadows, ambushing patrols, and stealing alien equipment to sabotage their systems. The more they fought, the more they understood that their time was running out. The Zyrak were closing in, and humanity's chances of survival seemed slimmer with each passing hour. As they journeyed deeper into the heart of the conflict, the team faced heavy losses. Soldiers like Bonner, a veteran who had fought in countless battles, sacrificed themselves to make sure the mission moved forward. The Zyrak were relentless, and the tension among Marcus and his team grew. Every step forward felt like a fight for survival, but they couldn't stop now. The fate of the world depended on what they were about to do. In a small, hidden underground lab, they finally found what they needed, a device capable of triggering a volcanic chain reaction. But they couldn't activate it without risking their own lives. They knew that once the device was set off, nothing would stop the eruption, it would be a race against time to get to safety before the planet unleashed its fury. As the team set their plan in motion, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about saving humanity, it was about showing the Zyrak that they had underestimated Earth's power. Earth wasn't just a planet to be conquered. It was a force to be reckoned with. And now, the Zyrak were going to find out just how powerful Earth really was. The battlefield had been a scene of chaos. Alien ships hovered over Earth, firing deadly weapons that tore through the landscape. Yet, the Zyrak were not prepared for the one thing they had not accounted for: Earth's raw, uncontrollable power. The first massive eruption struck without warning, sending a shockwave of heat and ash through the skies. The ground trembled violently as lava surged through the streets, swallowing everything in its path. The Zyrak's advanced technology was no match for the fury of the volcanoes. Their ships, which had easily destroyed Earth's defenses, now struggled to maintain control. Lava flows from the eruptions threatened to engulf their fleets, and the alien invaders were caught completely off guard. For the first time since the invasion began, the Zyrak found themselves scrambling. Their ships, though technologically superior, had never been designed to fight against the sheer force of a planet's natural disasters. On the ground, Marcus and his team watched as the eruption shook the sky above them. The Earth was on fire, but the team's mission was far from over. Their objective was clear: they had to infiltrate the Zyrak Central Command ship and plant the device that would trigger a chain of eruptions around the world. It wasn't just about saving Earth anymore, it was about striking back with everything they had and showing the invaders that they had underestimated the planet's fury. The journey to the Zyrak ship was a dangerous one. As the team moved through the ruined cities, they were constantly under threat from the alien forces. Robotic drones scouted the area, their mechanical eyes scanning every corner. The Zyrak warriors, with their advanced weapons and technology, were everywhere. But Marcus and his team were determined. They were outgunned, outclassed, and running out of time, but they refused to back down. They used guerrilla tactics to make their way to the heart of the enemy stronghold. They ambushed alien patrols, took out drones, and used the chaos of the eruptions to their advantage. But each victory came at a cost. The Zyrak were relentless, and every battle seemed harder than the last. Marcus watched as one of his soldiers, a young recruit named Taylor, fell in battle. The team's numbers were thinning, and the emotional toll was growing heavy. The death of each comrade reminded them of what they were fighting for: their families, their planet, and the hope that they could win. The team pushed forward, their resolve hardening with each step. They were not just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to protect everything they loved. The memory of their fallen comrades, like Bonner, who had sacrificed himself to ensure the mission's success, fueled their determination. Every loss made them stronger, and every victory, no matter how small, brought them closer to their goal. When they finally reached the Zyrak Central Command ship, they faced their greatest challenge yet. The ship was heavily guarded, surrounded by alien soldiers and drones. But Marcus knew they had no choice. This was their last chance to stop the invasion. The device they carried had the potential to trigger eruptions around the world, wiping out the Zyrak's forces and giving humanity a fighting chance. They moved stealthily through the corridors, taking out alien guards one by one. The tension was thick in the air, every footstep a risk, every turn a potential trap. As they reached the command center, Marcus felt his heart pounding in his chest. This was it. They had come so far, and now, the fate of Earth rested in their hands. With one final push, Marcus and his remaining team members planted the device. The countdown began. They had done it. But now, they had to escape before the Zyrak realized what had happened. They fought their way back through the ship, the heat from the volcanic eruptions intensifying with every second. As they made their way out, the ground shook violently again, the eruptions were starting, and they could hear the Zyrak's desperate attempts to regain control of their fleet. The volcanoes had awakened, and Earth was about to show them just how powerful it truly was. The time had come. After weeks of fighting, surviving, and enduring unimaginable losses, Marcus and his remaining team members had finally reached the heart of the Zyrak invasion, the alien command ship. The towering vessel loomed above them, its dark metallic surface glowing ominously. It was the nerve center of the entire Zyrak fleet, and the key to humanity's survival. Inside, the alien forces were waiting, their leader, the Zyrak Supreme Commander, standing ready to crush any hope humanity had left. Marcus felt the weight of the mission on his shoulders. The eruption of Earth's volcanoes was still raging across the globe, the planet itself turning into a hellscape of molten destruction. Entire cities had already been engulfed, and the volcanoes were not showing any signs of stopping. The world was on the brink of collapse, and now, humanity's last hope lay within the walls of this alien ship. As Marcus and his team infiltrated the ship's interior, they were met with fierce resistance. Alien warriors and robotic drones poured out from every corner, determined to stop them from reaching the command center. The air was thick with the sound of blaster fire and explosions as the team fought their way through the ship. Every step forward was hard-earned, but they kept going, driven by the memories of their fallen comrades and the knowledge that they were humanity's last chance. Finally, they reached the central command room, and there, standing tall and imposing, was the Zyrak Supreme Commander. He was a towering figure, clad in sleek, dark armor, his eyes glowing with a cold, malevolent intelligence. His presence was like a force of nature, calm, calculated, and deadly. "You think you can defeat us, humans?" he sneered. "Your planet's volcanic fury is nothing compared to our power. You are nothing." Marcus's heart pounded in his chest, but he refused to back down. "We're not going to let you take our home," he said, his voice filled with determination. "You've underestimated us, and now you're going to learn the hard way." The alien leader laughed, a cruel, echoing sound. He raised his weapon, and the battle began. Marcus and his team fought with everything they had left, but the Zyrak Supreme Commander was a formidable opponent. His strength and skill were unmatched, and the team struggled to keep up. Blasts from the alien's energy weapon tore through the walls, and the very air seemed to vibrate with power. But Marcus wasn't about to give up. As the volcanoes continued to erupt outside, sending waves of destruction across the planet, the final confrontation played out within the command room. Marcus knew that this was it. The moment that would decide the fate of humanity. With a burst of energy, he dodged the alien's attack and closed the distance between them. In a brutal, heart-pounding clash, Marcus managed to disarm the Zyrak leader, knocking him to the ground. With one swift, final move, Marcus triggered the device he had been carrying, the one that would set off the final eruption, one that would send shockwaves through the Zyrak fleet and cripple their forces for good. As the device activated, a blinding light filled the room, and the ground beneath them trembled violently. Outside, the volcanoes erupted in a cataclysmic wave of lava and ash, a force of nature that the Zyrak never saw coming. The Zyrak Supreme Commander struggled to rise, but it was too late. The eruption had already begun. Shockwaves of volcanic fury rippled through the alien ships, and their advanced technology failed to protect them from the raw power of the earth beneath them. The alien fleet was crippled. Their ships began to plummet from the sky, engulfed by the lava and ash that now covered the planet's surface. The surviving Zyrak forces, stunned and disoriented, had no choice but to retreat. The once invincible fleet was now in ruins, scattered across the planet's surface, unable to recover from the devastating eruptions that had turned Earth into an unstoppable force. Humanity had won, but it had come at a great cost. Marcus stood among the ruins of the command ship, his breath heavy, his body battered, but his spirit unbroken. The volcanoes were still raging, and Earth was scarred beyond recognition, but they had won. The Zyrak had been defeated. The invaders had underestimated Earth's strength, and now they were paying the price. As the remaining members of the resistance gathered around him, Marcus looked up at the sky, knowing that the fight wasn't just about survival, it was about proving that humanity, no matter how small or outmatched, could rise against impossible odds and win. The battle was over, but the war for Earth's future was just beginning. The battle was over, but the cost was clear. Earth, once a thriving and beautiful planet, now lay in ruins. Volcanoes continued to erupt, sending ash and lava into the sky, while the remnants of shattered cities smoldered beneath the heat. The Zyrak, once so confident in their technological superiority, had been driven from Earth, their fleet scattered and crippled. They retreated back into the galaxy, their invasion thwarted, but their defeat came at a heavy price. Marcus and the remaining members of the Resistance stood among the destruction, their faces stained with ash and sweat. The volcanic fury that had saved them was slowly subsiding, but the damage to the planet was irreversible. The cities they had once known were now nothing more than piles of rubble. The earth was scarred, and the sky remained darkened with ash clouds. Yet, despite everything, humanity had won. They had fought back against a seemingly unstoppable force and emerged victorious. But victory came at a great personal cost. Marcus looked around at the survivors, his comrades, his friends, each one carrying the weight of countless losses. They had all sacrificed so much, their lives, their homes, and their futures. Some had died fighting, like Bonner and Taylor, whose sacrifices ensured that the mission would succeed. But those who had made it through the battle knew that the fight was far from over. They had survived this invasion, but the world they knew would never be the same again. As they gathered what was left of their team, they couldn't help but feel the weight of their grief. Yet, there was something else in the air, something stronger than sadness. It was a glimmer of hope. The Zyrak may have been defeated, but the survivors of Earth had proven something much more important: they had proven their resilience. They had faced an enemy far superior in strength and technology and had fought them back, not with advanced weaponry, but with their determination, their will to survive, and their unity as a species. As they began the long and difficult task of rebuilding, the survivors knew the road ahead would not be easy. The volcanic eruptions had changed the planet's landscape forever, and resources were scarce. But the human spirit had not been broken. With every step forward, they worked together, picking up the pieces of their shattered world. They dug through the rubble, salvaging what they could, and slowly started to rebuild their cities and their homes. In the midst of all the destruction, Marcus stood on a hill overlooking the devastated landscape. The sun had finally pierced through the ash clouds, casting a pale light across the horizon. It was a symbol of hope, a sign that even after the darkest storms, there was always a new dawn. The volcanoes had given them a fighting chance, but it was humanity's strength and will that had truly saved them. The future was uncertain. The Zyrak may have retreated, but there was always the possibility that new threats would emerge. The galaxy was vast, and humanity had only begun to scratch the surface of what was out there. But Marcus knew one thing for sure: no matter what came next, humanity would be ready. They had faced the impossible and had come out on top. As long as they stood together, no force, no matter how powerful, could ever defeat them. As the final scene played out, a flicker of something strange appeared on the horizon, a distant ship, far beyond the reach of Earth's shattered defenses. It was too far to identify, but the message was clear: Earth's struggle was not over. The Zyrak may have been defeated, but the future was filled with uncertainty. Humanity had won this battle, but the war was far from finished. The survivors stood tall, their faces determined, ready for whatever came next. They knew that their journey was just beginning. The battle for Earth may have ended, but humanity's true strength, its spirit, had only just begun to rise.